Some stories begin with a question, others begin with a memory that does not belong to you. This one begins with a woman who woke up, screaming the name of a town she had never visited. Her name was Eleanor Ward, 34 years old. Primary school teacher, no history of mental illness, no fascination with witchcraft, no dramatic tendencies. She lived in a small flat outside Manchester, paid her bills on time, visited her mother on Sundays, and kept her world steady and predictable, until the dream started. At first, they were fragments, the smell of smoke, wet earth under her bare feet, the sensation of rope biting into her wrists. She would wake with her heart pounding, and the word Ashcombe echoing in her head. She assumed it was stress. The school term had been difficult, children restless, funding cuts, endless paperwork. But the dreams did not fade. They sharpened. In them, she stood in a village square. The year felt heavy, wrong somehow. No engines, no distant hum of electricity, just wind. She could hear boots on mud, men arguing in low, harsh tones, someone weeping. She tried to move, but her hands were bound in coarse hemp rope. She could feel splinters. One night she woke with the taste of ash in her mouth. That was when she searched the name, Ashcombe. It existed. A small English village, still standing, stone cottages, a church dating back to the 14th century, a population under 1,000, and buried in parish records, witch trials, 3 executions recorded between 1649 and 1651. Eleanor told herself it was coincidence. England had many witch trials, many villages. The human mind is skilled at pattern making, but the dreams continued. They grew precise. She began seeing a particular house, timber-framed crooked chimney, ivy crawling up one side. She knew the angle of the doorway, the weight of the latch in her hand. In the dreams, she was older, harder, her hands rough from work. And then she heard her own name. Not Eleanor, Margaret Hale. The name came during the worst dream yet. She stood on a wooden platform. Villagers gathered in silence. No dramatic shouting, no theatrical curses, just the quiet dread of something final. A man read from parchment. Accusations of maleficium, spoiled crops, a stillborn calf, illness in a neighbor's child. She tried to speak, but her throat felt swollen. The rope was around her neck. Eleanor woke with bruises, faint, crescent shapes across her collarbone, as though she had gripped herself too tightly in sleep. She did not tell anyone, not at first. Instead, she did what modern people do when frightened. She researched. Margaret Hale was real. Parish archives confirmed it. Executed in 1650 in Ashcombe, charged with witchcraft, widowed, midwife by trade. The record was brief, efficient. Margaret Hale, condemned and executed for the practice of dark arts against the parish. No mention of evidence, no mention of proof, just a name and a date. Eleanor stared at the document for a long time. The handwriting was cramped, brown with age. She traced the inked letters with her eyes and felt something twist low in her stomach. The dreams shifted after that. They were no longer chaotic. They were sequential. She saw the arrest. 2 men at her door before dawn. She remembered the weight of the iron key as they locked her cottage. She remembered the cell, damp stone, straw that smelled of mold, a single slit of light high in the wall. She remembered denying it, not theatrically, not heroically, just tired. "I have done nothing," she said in the dream, her voice hoarse. "You know I have done nothing." The villagers would not meet her eyes. Eleanor began visiting Ashcombe. She told friends she needed fresh air, a quiet weekend away. The first time she walked into the village square, her knees weakened. The layout was identical. Modern cars lined the street now. Satellite dishes clung to old roofs. But the bones of the place were unchanged. The church tower cast the same long shadow. She found the spot. There was no plaque, no memorial, just cobblestone, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. She stood there while tourists passed, unaware. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with recognition. She knew where the platform had stood. That was when the final dream came. It was calmer than the others, almost gentle. She stood on the scaffold again, but this time she did not struggle. She felt the rope placed around her neck. She felt the rough wood beneath her feet. She looked at the crowd and saw faces she recognized, not from history books, but from her classroom, from the supermarket, from her own reflection. Fear does not change much across centuries. She understood something then. Margaret had not been powerful. She had not been mystical. She had simply been inconvenient. A midwife with knowledge, a widow without male protection, a woman who did not bend easily. The accusation had been enough. In 17th century England, witch trials were rarely about sorcery. They were about control, about fear in times of crop failure and disease, about communities needing someone to blame. Records show that thousands were accused, hundreds executed. The majority were women, often older, often poor, often alone. Margaret Hale fit the pattern perfectly. On the platform, in the dream, Eleanor felt the trapdoor shift beneath her feet, and instead of terror, she felt injustice. The dream ended before the drop. When she woke, she was not screaming. She was crying, not for herself, for Margaret, for the countless others whose names were written in cramped ink and then forgotten. Eleanor did not claim to be a reincarnation. She did not go to the press. She did not write a book. She simply began speaking about the trials, quietly, carefully. At the school where she taught, she introduced lessons about historical hysteria, about how fear can dress itself as righteousness, about how easy it is to condemn someone when a community feels threatened. She never mentioned her dreams, but she returned to Ashcombe one last time. At dusk, when the square was empty, she placed a small wildflower bouquet on the cobblestone where the scaffold once stood. "For you," she whispered. The wind moved gently through the churchyard trees. There are those who say memory is stored only in the brain. Others believe places remember. Stone holds echoes. Timber absorbs grief. Soil does not forget what it has swallowed. Perhaps Eleanor's dreams were the mind stitching together fragments of research. Perhaps they were coincidence. Or perhaps, sometimes, injustice is so loud it refuses to stay buried. And every now and then, someone hears it. If you walk through old villages, pay attention to the quiet places, the squares without plaques, the names written once and never spoken again. History does not always shout. Sometimes it waits, and sometimes it remembers. Some stories begin with a question. Others begin with a memory that does not belong to you. If this one unsettled you, good. It means you are listening.